to help get him back in, and
well, buddy,
who knows?
Well, buddy, let me just say this. We are live on Facebook. I've got my friend Mike Dupree for Halloween Kills with me. We're waiting on Dale Bozzio to call. And if Dale doesn't call, we're going to talk about her career anyway. So, Mike, welcome to the call. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Doc. I do apologize that I'm not there in in video, but I am here backing you up 150%.
Yeah, and
you gotta love this technology.
Yeah. It blocks you, and then there's times when I don't even understand it. Like I said, I was on a phone call last night or a Zoom meeting last night with people in Ghana and Australia. They were clear. Everybody else is like far away. And the closest ones were the most unclear. So I don't know where technology is bringing us. It's bringing us far away, but it's just one of the things. What do you know about Dale Bozzio?
Oh, Dale, I'll tell you what. She goes back to the Frank Zappa days, and I was a big fan. And her first appearance was in Joe's Garage, and right. I don't know if you're real familiar with a lot of Frank Zappa's stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
But I followed him.
Absolutely.
Years. And when she came on the scene, she did the rock opera, which was Joe's Garage. It's about a 10-minute song, if I remember correctly. I know it's really long, but she did such a great part in it. She plays the female's voice that goes in it, and it starts out how the garage started in the old beat up car in the garage, and it just builds from there. And it's typical Frank Zappa. And then he played Rhoda in Sing Fish, which was another rock opera that he put together. And their stuff, I'll tell you what, is awesome. I really love his stuff. And then she went on to co-found, of course, Missing Persons with her. She wound up marrying Terry Bozzio, and Warren Cucurella, if I'm pronouncing it right, who went on. Yeah, he was a member of Missing Persons as well, and he went on to join Duran Duran. He played guitar for them for many years, and a very influential rock and roller, and a lot of stories. You look at the internet, and you can even find some old interviews that he did, and they were just outrageous, the stuff that he did. He was friends with a actor, and they did some kind of nude thing, and it's really funny to hear the story. So that's something that you may want to catch out on the internet, on YouTube. I think you can still find them, but back in the early days, she was one of the early 80s MTV stars, and and she adorned the walls of many a frat house and teen rooms. I know I had her poster in my room when I was a young guy, and she was just gorgeous, blonde hair, and she always wore, when she came out on stage, these controversial outfits. They were like bikini top, but new wave bikini tops, and bikini bottoms with leggings of sorts. But what a unique lady she was, and
you also remember, Mike. You know who I also remember? If you remember, let me know. The Wendy O Williams from the Plasmatics.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when I say that to my girls or people from me, they're like, "Who?" I never heard of the Plasmatics. They were a punk rock group, in the 80s, and she was very, very scantily clad, and everybody loved, just like the girl, I forget her name, from Bow Wow Wow. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, yes, I do. I'm
I
trying
like
to remember
Candy.
her name.
I like Candy Girl. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Really dig deep there.
Well, we go back, right? We go back a lot, but I didn't realize that Dale met Terry, and then they, because they were both working with Frank Zappa, and then they formed Missing Persons.
Yeah. Yeah, they all three were working for Frank Zappa at the time, and that's how they all met and formed the group.
Isn't that weird? I mean, because usually, I know you have offshoots of groups. It always happens because you've got people that people want to move on and they want to find their own way, or you have people that take the knowledge that they have from the group and either make it inform it their own way. Just like Elton John always says that a lot of his guys, and I've talked to David Patton about this, David Payton, that when he was with Elton John, he had a lot of influences on a lot of his songs. And of course, David Payton, everybody knows him from the song. Everybody knows the song. It's not Ozempic. It's called Magic. And it was written by him. And it was also performed by the band Pilot. And he says this all the time. Elton John is the most creative genius that there is. But at the same time, he's stupid. And he doesn't mean that in a bad way, because he's got so many ideas coming in, he doesn't know where to pull from.
Right.
No, it's not a derogatory thing. It's just basically, you're intelligent. You're so intelligent, and you've got all these ideas. The guy can create songs literally out of thin air. I mean,
right.
That's what creates hits, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Finding that little niche.
It is. And the musicians that they play with each other and they make other contacts throughout their careers and whatnot. It's just phenomenal. You meet one, and then you wind up meeting so many more people through the stories that they tell, and they give you contacts or whatever. And that's how I found the Duprees, for instance. I was in the oldies network. I worked at radio, of course, for years in the oldies market, and I met the Duprees and got to hang out with them, then the Capris and the Brooklyn Bridge, and then it just opened up doors. Bobby Rydell was another one. Bowser from Sha Na Na, who wasn't really a hardcore rock and roll. He was, "Hey, all you greasers, this here is Bowser." And but that was the nostalgia that came back in the 70s, because the 50s rock and roll never really died.
Never will. It never will. It never will.
No, it's a timeless music, and it just keeps getting used over and over again. Next thing you know, people will forget about it, and then a movie will come up and they'll play 50 songs, and then all of a sudden, pop, all the kids want to hear it again. And Mickey and Sylvia, that was a song that, for instance, everybody forgot about. And then Dirty Dancing came out, and it was featured in that. And next thing you know, it was as hot as it was back in the 50s. Actually, it got more play when Dirty Dancing came out than it did originally.
That's like the movie The Big Chill back in, I think it was all 60s music, but all that music, the Temptations and stuff like that revised all their careers again and again. It's just one movie soundtrack that can do that.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
And we got the great Paul Veneer watching us. Hey, Paul. And Jerry Petito's watching us, and my good friend Howie Groot. We're just waiting right now, guys. We're waiting for a person that comes in, hopefully at 8:00, and we'll be talking to Dale Bozzio from Missing Persons and talking about her escapades with Frank Zappa, as me and Mike were just talking about, and talk about her ideas that she had when she was, Playboy Bunny Club in the Boston club somewhere, and her music and her career and how it got started and all that stuff. So we're going to be hopefully picking her brain, so to speak, on all that stuff.
It's amazing. She and I caught her interviews, and I always thought that she was from England.
Yeah, me too.
Because you listen to her interviews, and she sort of inflects like you wouldn't know that she's from Massachusetts.
Yeah,
and I think she probably, and I'm only assuming, put that voice on to disguise her, the Boston accent that they've got. Yeah. And I can only imagine that's what they were doing, but
yeah, you're right. I mean, I was just talking to an Englishman the other day. I think it was Monday, and he was telling me, how when he sings, and everybody says, "You don't sound English at all, my friend." He says, "I know. It's just." And here's the call. Let's get this. Hello, is this Dale Bozzio?
Hey, hello, it is Dale Bozzio. How are you?
Oh my God. Welcome to our show. I have Mike Dupree, and of course I'm Docg from Hamilton Radio. Welcome to the show, Dale.
Well, thank you so
Dale,
much. Thank you, Gina Dupree and Docg. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Mike.
Let me give you the proper introduction. My God, I got to say, what a legend you really are. And before I start and introduce you, I got to say that you have adorned my room in the form of a poster for many, many years. But anyhow, our guest tonight is a new wave rock legend. She was a member of Frank Zappa's group, and then she went on to co-found the hot 1980s band Missing Persons. And she also had a great solo career and still out there rocking and rolling. And she has her own special style. So please join me in welcoming our music legend for tonight, Dale Bozzio. Welcome, Dale. It's so great to have you on the show. It's outstanding. I'm really thrilled.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you great, Dale.
Absolutely.
Great.
And
well, thank you so much.
I've got to say, you were one of my favorite artists.
To put your listeners together with people like me, like funny rock stars that pop in and out of life.
Yeah, we were just saying that, Dale, we were just saying that we always thought you were English. How did you manage to fool everybody?
What do you mean? What?
We just thought you were English, right? Right, Mike?
Yeah, I was.
No, I'm from Boston.
I know.
Yeah, but that's what I said. The funny part is, I saw you with an interview, and you sort of, I don't know if you're trying to mask the Boston accent, but it came across like you were English, and I always thought she was from Boston, but she has like an English dialect as she's given an interview. So I don't know if that was something that you did to try and mask that, but it was really great to hear. I was impressed, but
that's interesting. That's funny. No. I'm from Boston, and I did live in England for a while, so that could have worn off on me, but I kind of I chameleon like that. When I'm around Japanese people, I start talking Japanese,
So Dale, tell us about your career. Let's talk about how you got started. How did you get started in Frank Zappa? That had to be an amazing time.
Well, yeah, the Frank Zappa story is pretty much the thread of my life. He looked at me and said, you should sing. I wanted to be a movie star, and he said, no, you should sing and then be a movie star. And he cracked up laughing because I said, Frank, I came to Hollywood to be a movie star. He thought that was just hysterical. I was a little kid, 21 years old, and 88 pounds, and he cracked up. He just thought that was just the funniest thing he had ever heard, right?
Right.
And so anyway, he said, why don't you be Mary on Joe's Garage, and then you'll be a movie star. So that's,
yeah.
I didn't really
Joe's
go
Garage.
that way, but I'm in videos, so I guess you could kind of halfway went there.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we were talking about Joe's Garage prior to you coming on the call, and I got to say that was such a great hit, and it's a long song. Was it as fun to do as it sounded when we listened to it? It was.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
about the whole story.
I laughed falling down crying, making the Joe's Garage with Frank. I mean, laughing hysterically, really. And by the time we got to singing Little Green Rosetta with all the people, even Steve Vai singing on there, it was so much fun.
Was he like
the greatest day I've ever had, really?
Dale, was he
in the studio in my life?
Dale, was he like an Al Yankovic of his time, do you think? Dale?
I don't know. I don't know really what that means.
Well, I mean, you know, Weird Al, the one that does all the weird songs like Beat It and, you know, he did okay.
Yeah. Well, you mean Frank?
Yeah, Frank Zappa himself. Yeah.
No, Frank was not weird. Frank was very honest. Frank was one of the most honest people I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
Next to my father. And I can't, there's nobody like Frank. Never will be, never was. Frank is a one-of-a-kind human being. And he let many, many, many musicians grace his stage and take his shine right there live in performances for many, many years. He gave lots of people steps and places and a platform to play music, which they wouldn't have without him. How could they?
Yeah. Now, are you friends with his kids?
Not so much. I love them and I know them, but I don't associate with actually any people, to tell you the truth. I'm really an introvert. And I know they say that's rare, but it's true for me. I am an introvert and I do stay in the house most of the day and night.
So you're a homebody.
I prefer. I prefer to stay where I am with myself most of the time. Yeah.
So
I write. I write a lot. So I like having solace.
So when COVID came, it didn't really hinder you at all because you were used to staying at home.
You know what? That's exactly true. You're right. I did not
That's so cool.
Out because I knew it was just half of the course. I kind of looked at everybody and went, get used to my world. Like, what's the matter with you? Why can't you stay home with yourself? I don't get it. I don't get that, really. You know, I learned a little thing. I'll tell you real quick. There's this fella, he was on the Swiss Alps in the middle of a snow blizzard, climbing up the mountain on the edge of the rock. See, I think to myself, why people would want to do that is beyond me.
Right.
But anyway, this guy, this is one of these climbers, and he turns around and says, you know what, I've got a 3-foot circumference here. One speck of climbers off that 3-foot circumference, and my life is over. And I thought, wow, what a perspective that is. Could you believe if we all thought like that? Like, watch out. Within your 3-foot little circle, babe, that's all you got.
That's true. That's true. Mike, you got any more questions? Right?
Yeah, I was interested after the, appearing with Frank Zappa, and then you and, was it Warren Cucarola and Terry formed Missing in Action?
Yeah.
How did you come to do that? Was that something that you guys preconceived, or was it something that just happened at the moment?
You know what? I'll tell you. It's a short little story if you got a minute. But
sure.
Frank Zappa looked at us one day. We were in his living room, leaning on the wall. He said, the three of you should put a band together and call yourselves the Cute Persons. We started to laugh. I just looked at Terry and Warren and said, well, yeah, we are pretty cute, but that's the kind of weird name for us, Frank. And then we went away and thought about it for a while. And a few days later, we came back and said, Terry and Warren thought of, let's put the band together and call it Missing Persons. And then Frank said, okay. And Terry said, because we're missing from you, Frank. And it was very heartfelt and very endearing, really, to do that. And then Frank said, okay, come in my studio, go get Ken Scott. You make a record this weekend. I'll come home and tell you what I think. Frank gave us everything. He gave us the studio. He gave us the power. He gave us the equipment.
Wow.
He gave us the Ken Scott. I mean, he did everything for us, and his courage and his inspiration. And so it was one of those magical moments. And we went in the studio and we did Mental Hopscotch, Destination Unknown, Walking LA. And Frank came back and he said Mental Hopscotch was his favorite song. So I play that the first song every show I play, everywhere I go. And I'm going on tour. I'm going to do a big tour this summer,
Nice.
into the fall. And I want you to tell your listeners to get my book. It's called Life is So Strange.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
My
that.
pictures on the cover.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
And, you know, and it tells the whole story from beginning to end about Frank, just being the thread in my life and being the incredible person and the most altruistic person that I know, that I've ever known.
So what made you want to write a book, Dale? Was it that you wanted to tell your story, basically, of what you went through with rock and roll and, of course, with Frank Zappa?
Well, I tell you, the day Prince passed away, my son woke me up that morning and
So
said,
sad.
listen, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, your boy died today. And it was very shocking for me. I really felt a metamorphosis that moment and thought, whoa, that's going to happen to me. That's going to happen to me. I'm going to die one day. When, how, ever, I don't know, but it's going to happen. And when it does, I want to make sure that I told my story the way it should have been told, out of my mouth, not someone else's thoughts. And I told the truth, and I put it all right there. And whether people like it or not, it is the story. It is how it got played out by me. And it wasn't so easy for me as a child. And not saying it's so easy for me now, but you know, life in the pattern of experiences, I've learned to live with myself. And I think that's the most important thing to learn about life, is living with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
So
and somebody, yeah, Mike.
You were a part of the Prince's Paisley Park Productions. Did you ever get the honor to perform at all with Prince or on any of his songs that he had put out?
You know what? He sent me to Minneapolis to his club there, and I played a concert there with my band from Boston, and there were no tickets sold, and no one was there. And I knew he was way, way, way up in the back. I knew he listened to the show and he watched the show. And then I went home, and they paid me a lot of money, and I never saw one person in the audience. The place was empty.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's a difference.
He was a spooky kind of little fella, you know, and he had an imagination, and he also made himself enough dough to make his own choices. You see? So this is a very difficult life we lead, this rock star, you know, musician kind of starving artist vibe.
Right.
You need to prepare for the future. It doesn't just hand itself to you on a silver platter. You don't just get famous overnight. That's not the fact of the matter.
That's so true.
It's a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, and mistakes. Mistakes.
Now I think
okay, so go ahead.
Prince was a little standoffish to a lot of people, and he had a really close inner circle. Did he ever let you into that, or were you just acquaintances?
I had a relationship with him. It was behind closed doors, and he was a fragile fella. You know, I know the world loved him very much, and you know, Prince was he was secluded with his own self. That's what I found strange about him. When I really tried to get inside his thoughts and see what made him tick, you know, and see why he did the things he did. But then after a while, you know, I had to go on with my own life, and then he got mad at me, and I wouldn't marry him. And, you know, I'm not the kind of girl that you just marry and put away in the kitchen and cook, you know, cook and clean your clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my children, and I take care of them still all day long at 30 years old. But that's not the point. You know, men need to take care of their business in life. And when it comes down to that, love is secondary. And that should be the way it is. You can't run away with yourself in love and be aimless. You know, you have to build yourself a foundation. And it becomes from the floor up. If the foundation isn't strong, your house collapses.
I agree. I definitely agree. Dale.
So that's how I think. You know, I think like construction. My father was a builder, and I think like that. I think that's what is important. And if you have the foundation under your feet is strong, you can't fail. You can't fail. It doesn't matter if you have money or no money. You really need people to lean on. You know, this lifetime, you have to have a friend, at least one, somebody, a couple you can count on one hand.
Yeah.
or you're in trouble. Especially, you know. And the thing is, you have to open up the floodgates to let those people in. If they don't let them in, they never come in. That's the other thing, you know.
Yep.
People have these love affairs and go, oh, well, she doesn't love me enough. Well, maybe you didn't let her love you enough, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's how it is. You know, we have our own finger on the trigger, but we think everyone else is pointing it at us. And I don't go that road. You know, I take my responsibilities face and head on best I can, man, and it ain't easy. You know, it ain't easy. And I wanted to write this book to prove to the fact of the matter is you can be the underdog. You can, and still rise to the top. Absolutely.
Yes,
and I am that. I'm just a little girl from Medford, Massachusetts, and I've made a real splash in my life and made it so it's when my sons say when I passed on, they'll put a smile on their face and say, "That's my mother."
Yeah.
That is my mother, and that's what I want to think about now and go forward with. You know, being nude or not. You know, fucking a briefcase with Frank Zappa on Thingfish or not, I don't really care.
Right.
You know, it's like Frank says, a comma's not to come in your mouth. That's it.
Hey, you know, I love your attitude, but I want to ask you, what were your influences growing up? What was your musical influences and maybe TV influences?
Frank.
Frank was,
why do you think that's why I act like this. It's all Frank's fault.
It's all Frank's fault. Oh, wow.
He made me crazy and sarcastic and weird.
That's funny. That's funny.
Your influence as far as silver screen. I know Marlene Dietrich and all the old film noir stars used to catch your eye. And I heard somewhere.
Veronica Lake. Marlene Dietrich, Jean Harlow, you know, Jean Harlow, who died so young.
Yeah.
I can't think of all these movie stars. They died so young. And it's so funny. I was just talking to my first boyfriend. I'll tell you this real quick. Last night, and he said to me, all you wanted to be was, all you needed when you were a kid was attention. You had to go to Hollywood. You had to get rich and famous. You had to be this. You had to be that. And he said, no, I kept telling you was they all commit suicide or they overdose. He said, I'm surprised you've lived this long. I was like, oh my God, man. That's really heavy. He waited 40 years to tell me. He called me yesterday. I was like, holy shit. Okay, live and learn, right?
That was definitely brain deadening type of thing. Yeah, you didn't expect that, I'm sure.
No. So anyway,
Dale, did you with the costumes on stage?
Right? I want to thank you so much for doing all the work you do and getting all this heard and all your people and asking these questions and knowing what you're really talking about. It's amazing to hear that you really have this knowledge, and I know how much you care. people and music. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're really enjoying the interview, Mike and and I just want to say we're on 2 radio stations right now. So we're on Smoke and Bacon Radio, which is a huge military influence all over the world, and of course HamiltonRadio.net, which still plays your music all the time. Still play Missing Persons.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that the music has gotten as far as it has in the places that I've really never even been to myself. It's so incredible, and I thank all your listeners and all the military. I mean, what will we do without them? And music makes the world go round. I guess that kind of seals the deal right there.
Seals the deal, yeah. Mike, you have any more questions for Dale?
Yeah, I was wondering if she came up with the outfits that she wore on stage. I remember seeing her, in the early days in the 80s on stage. And that's why I asked the question about your influences, Jean Harlow, because quite a few of the costumes were reminiscent of the old days, but you really pushed the envelope for the 80s as far as coming on stage dressed in the costumes that you had. They were, I'll tell you what, for an 18-year-old kid, you blew my mind back then. And you probably can tell from my voice, I'm still really excited.
Oh, you're so sweet. I wasn't trying really to blow your mind, but I was a little kid myself. That's the thing. In the 80s, I was growing up with everybody through the 80s with everyone at the same time, because I was very young back then. And I was just thinking, wow, how can I dress up with nobody else being able to buy the same outfit that I have on? I said, well, then I guess I should just make it from scratch. And then let me see who's going to duplicate this. And so that's kind of what my attitude was. It was awkward at the most. It wasn't anything other than that. I mean, I really wasn't trying to accomplish anything. I was just trying to be unique in my own state of dressing,
But it says you were involved in the Playboy Club. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How was that for you at that time?
Well, I joined the Playboy Club at the age of 18. Actually, that was the month I turned 18, and I was there for 4 years. I learned quite a bit. It was very respectful, and actually at the end of my time working there is when I went to to Hugh Hefner's house in California, because I was going to move in and be a centerfold or something. And when I got there, he wouldn't even come down the stairs, Hefner, and talk to me. He waved me with his arm to come up the stairs. And I was pre-warned by my bunny friends in Boston, if he waves you up the stairs, get ready to get naked. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to do that today. I wasn't in the mood, and he wasn't coming down the stairs. And I said, Hefner, I have a previous engagement, and I got to go. If you're not going to talk to me, I'm out the door. He didn't believe me, I guess. I just turned around, walked out. I grabbed my Playboy, because I was just in the brand new Playboy. So I grabbed it from the secretary, just whisked it out of her hand, ran out the door, jumped in my Firebird, and peeled out of that mansion lot.
Wow.
As fast as I fucking could.
You have a lot of balls. You
really
do.
I get it. Well, I'm from Boston.
No, that's great.
I'm glad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I walk in the snow, in the rain, I shovel and build snowmen, and I'm a tough chick.
You are a tough chick.
Yeah.
Not everybody could stand up to Hef.
That Mike?
But I got to ask you a question.
That I ran into Frank Zappa, and then Frank said to me that day, "You'll be Mary on Joe's Garage, and I'll make you an icon. You will be a household word when I'm done with you." That's what he said to me that day. That was February 10th, 1976.
Wow. And then Lunchwagon.
That's a miracle.
And then Lunchwagon happened in 1981. You were part of the movie. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I tracked down the promoter of that, making that movie, because I thought, let me get our music in this movie, and I'll get us further in our claim to fame. So I banged on this producer's door, and he finally listened and said, okay, I guess maybe we'll put you in the movie too. And I went, oh, you made my day. Yeah, Ernie Pintoff. That's who it was. I don't know where Ernie is now, but he was a wonderful fella. And he said, I love you, Dale. And he gave us the chance, and he gave us the spot. Yep.
Really cool. Really
That's
cool.
how it went.
I forget what show it is, and it ties in with the movie portion, but there was a TV show, and you were the inspiration. In fact, they used your name. Dale Bozzio was the detective, and the department she worked for was missing person.
I saw that. It's on TV. It's some kind of detective show. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't pinpoint it. I saw it, and it blew my mind when I said, "Oh my goodness, that's." Most people it probably went right over their head, but I caught it because I was a fan of yours. I'm still a fan of yours.
Yeah, I know.
And I
caught it. I caught it too.
That was amazing. And you got to tell us about Gelvin guitars. There's a rumor that the SSM guitar was designed for you and after you.
What guitar?
The SM guitar?
Yeah, Gelvin guitars. They actually,
not that I know of.
Okay, because they designed a guitar, SSM guitar, and it was designed after you and mine.
The green guitar. You mean it's green and with the swoosh across the eyes? I don't know. Maybe I've got the wrong one.
Yeah, that's the Gelvin guitars.
Yeah. Great. Yes.
Did you have a hand in that, or did they just create it after you? Or
no. They created it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember back in the day seeing them. I thought, wow, that's a pretty hot guitar. And not that I was a player, but I always hung out in music areas, and I was a disc jockey at the time, so I was always in music shops and everything. And that was one of the premier guitars they had in that time. But that was amazing. I thought that was so cool. But I thought maybe you designed it or something, and they put out a special line for years, but I guess not.
No.
But you have an association with Warner Brothers, Capitol, Cleopatra, and of course Prince's Paisley Park. How was it working with the record companies? You hear stories all the time of artists that get raked over the coals and being pushed in certain directions. What was your relationship with the record companies? Was it good or bad, or how was it?
I've always had success with my business fellow mates. I'm really a humble person, and I've got very savvy and aware of the necessities of the music business and the presentation of your artistry. So I always went into any of all my deals knowing exactly what I was headed toward. So they've all worked out fine for me. I'm still on Cleopatra Records, and that's where my book is from, Cleopatra Records. And I have a record on there called Dreaming, which I wrote, which is a really beautiful record. You should get that. A lot of my favorite songs are on it that I copy. But the focus on the book now for me is that I'm thinking about making a movie, and I'm going to write the soundtrack to the whole movie, all brand new music for it. And it will be some excerpts of this book and also a lot more colorful information.
Cool. Very cool. Hey, Dale, are you still friends, or have you been friends with any of the other 80s girls like Deborah Harry or Chrissy Hine from the Pretenders?
I've never met them, but thanks for asking. I have never met them, but I am playing a show May 11th and 12th with Blondie in California.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to try to get to say hello to her. I don't know. I've never met her. No, all this time. No.
Yeah, because she was a former Playboy as well, and I thought maybe you would have known that. I didn't know that. You have that in common anyway. You're both 80s chicks too. So, but you did a concert. You did a concert in Southern California, a 3-day concert in 1983 with David Bowie, the Pretenders, and U2 and Stevie Nicks. How was that?
Oh yeah, that was the US Festival,
right?
US.
Yep.
Yeah, unbelievable. It was a sea of people. There were so many people there. I couldn't see at the end of all the people. It was a gasp. And I got off the stage and told Terry and Warren, it's only downhill from here, kids.
That was like the Woodstock. That was like the Woodstock of the day for us, right? For the 80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was heavier than Woodstock. I must say. It was so overwhelming that I don't think that there could be any comparison to it. I don't know. I wasn't at Woodstock, so I don't know. There were great people there as well. But what I saw from my angle was absolutely breathtaking. And I thought to myself, wow. And then, they had the excerpts of it. And they have now, on the YouTube, you can go there and see the whole show. You can see the whole performance of Missing Persons. It's actually 48 minutes. And it started at 12 o'clock in the day, and it was about 110 degrees outside.
Oh, God.
I walked out with this shirt on, this like flimsy like robe thing, and I was roasting. I went, oh my God, I got to get this off. I'm so hot. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was the thing was like a paper cloth. It was so light, And then I just took it off and I went, oh my God, I threw it off. I was like, oh my, are you kidding me? And we were in the dead sun. So, babe, it was bristling hot. And all those people were out there dancing and singing. And they get this all on tape and on film. And that was a long time ago for them to have that kind of procession and promotion of the show, right?
Absolutely.
To have it on film now, it's fantastic. I didn't have that. I had to wait till the production came through and blah blah blah, and to get the tape and so forth and so on. But for the public at large, I mean, it looks like, oh wow, look how easy that was. If they had only known. How dusty and hot. It was bizarre.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is like you said, the dry heat is no good for the instruments. You've got sand blowing in the wind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're inhaling dust. That was
Jesus.
it. You weren't by the edge of the ocean or anything. It was really hot and dusty, and there was no way out of there. And the funny thing is, I'll just tell you this real quick. When they called me about making the deal, right? I was like, well, let me say, only one thing. They want to send me a helicopter to fly us all into the backstage because there were so many people, right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, sure. They're telling me 1 million people are going to be there. I'm like, you're full of shit. There's not going to be 1 million people there. Can you count, really? Right? No, and I'm sarcastic as it goes. And then I say, I don't want a helicopter. I want 5 parking spaces backstage. So we're all going to drive our cars in. So when we get there, it takes like 2 hours to get in, right? To get here, we drive to the backstage. To get out of there was like 4 hours.
Oh my God.
To get out of there. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I had my head in my hands, like screaming, smoking a joint, going, I'm never going to get out of here.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was crazy. Yeah. Everyone else flew in helicopters. They just went over to the pad and they were gone. All the musicians. That's how they did it, And I thought I was being so smart. Yeah.
Little did you know it's not your fault, but you learned. Yeah, right. You learned from that.
Yeah. I still ask for parking spaces backstage. I still do.
Oh, that's cool. That's really, that's a cool story. Is that in the book as well, that story?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I got a phone call, and it was from my promoter, and he said, our festival wants to give you $250,000, and they want you to play for 45 minutes, And I'm like, well, really? You want to pay missing persons $250,000? They don't even know us. We're not David Bowie.
Right.
And he said, well, as a matter of fact, it's going to be on the David Bowie day. It's Fleetwood Mac, David Bowie, you too. I'm like, really? Okay, well, you tell them I want $350,000. I want parking spaces backstage. Call me back. And my promoter went, are you out of your fucking mind? I went, a little bit. 5 minutes, 15 minutes go by. He calls me back. He goes, okay, you got the fucking deal. You got it. You get the extra $100,000 and you get the parking spaces backstage. Okay. I say goodbye. See ya. You gotta love it, right?
Oh my God.
They spent so much money. They give David Bowie like $1.5 million or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy must have went broke.
I don't know.
I don't see where the profit came from, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, you mean that the promoter went broke?
Yeah. Wozniak. That was his name. Wozniak.
I never heard of him. Never heard of him, so I guess he did go broke.
Oh, you never heard of him? Yeah, Wozniak. Yeah, Wozniak. Look him up.
Okay, I'll look him
He's a
up.
heavy-duty guy. He's a very heavy-duty person. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Go ahead, Mike. Any other questions for Dale?
Yeah,
Listen, I just want to tell you guys are super cool. You're so cool together. You're like, you're like Sherlock and Holmes. you gotta love it. The ping ponging that you got down. You could go into quantity. I love you.
Well, Mike is from the movie Halloween Kills. He's in that movie with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, no wonder you're so fucking dramatic. I love it. Oh, that's great, man. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for thinking of me. I really want to thank you for telling my story and getting your listeners to listen to me. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. All seriousness, I do love you. And I'll talk to you again if you'd like me to sometime in the future.
Yeah, because if you're definitely tired or you need to take a break, we can stop and we can let you go if that's what you want to do. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get together again. Why don't we to be continued?
All right, Dale, do this for me. Can you do a sweeper for the station and just say, I'm Dale Bozzio from Missing Persons, and you're listening to Hamilton Radio?
What's it called, the radio?
Hamilton Radio. It's been around 25 years.
Okay, ready?
Go ahead.
Say when.
Anytime you're ready, my dear.
Okay. Hi, hello. I'm grateful for your listeners. My name is Dale Bozzio, and I'm from Missing Persons. And you're listening to the Hamilton Radio, my one and only. I love you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
you
for
being.
That's good. That's good enough. Okay.
That's perfect, Dale.
I love you guys. I love you so much. I really want to hang out again. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Another time.
Thank you for your time.
All right. God bless you both. Okay.
Same to you, Dale.
All right.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
Love you too.
See
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. She wanted to go, so I had to let her go, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a rocker. She's a rocker chick, and she's going to be raw.
Absolutely.
But she was very, very honest, very, very nice, very sweet. Like she says, she don't pull no punches and she don't bullshit anybody. And that's hard to find today in today's world.
No, it sure is. And she doesn't whitewash things. So, yeah, it didn't surprise me, the behind the scenes of Hefner, because I've heard a lot of stories about Hef. And the fact that she stood up to him before she had a known career, that takes guts to do that. Because
I told her. I said, unbelievable.
That could her whole life, because he could have blacklisted her like he did quite a few other women in the business. It's a shame.
He did that to, a lot of women, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask her about the behind the scenes of MTV, the early days.
I was going to ask her that question. Yeah, I was going to ask her that, but I was holding off. I wanted you to ask it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to get it in, but she wanted to get off, which is fine. We can ask her next time she comes on. But I was wondering, she did a great interview with Nina Blackwood back in the day that I recall. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I'll have to look it up, but it was a fantastic interview. And she wound up asking Nina questions. But Alan Hunter was also there, and it could have been they were interviewing them at the time of that concert in LA. I'm not certain of that. But it was at some kind of event like that MTV sponsored. And great interview, and she was high energy. And I always thought, from watching her on TV and on stage and everything, I thought she was this tall, blonde-haired girl. She's actually pretty short. She's, I would say, probably about 5'1", not very big at all. She did an interview with, I'm trying to think, Lisa Hartman Black, maybe. And Lisa's about, 5'11" or so. And she towered over Dale. And it was pretty funny to see, because I thought for all those years that she was a real tall girl, because she was so lanky and thin and everything. But now she was short. But
cool.
Big thing, small packages, they say.
Yeah,
but she has a lot of talent, and the fact that she's written songs and performed as the lead singer in a couple acts with the Zappa. I mean, that right there is legendary in itself, to perform with Frank Zappa. Can you imagine? I was always such a big fan of his music. The big one was "Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow." I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember that one. Yes, I do.
One of my favorites. But I could just imagine what was going on behind the scenes with her and her husband, Terry, and Warren Cucarola. That had to be awesome. And like I said before, Warren went on to be a full-time member of Duran Duran.
I'm looking at, you're reading the same thing I'm looking at. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just amazing that, the contacts and everybody they've rubbed hands with down the line, the acts that they met and whatever. But I know a lot of it show, you think that everybody's friends in Hollywood, that they appear on the, concert scenes together. And a lot of times what they'll do is you'll go on stage, a handler, a producer will pull you up on stage, you'll do your act, and then they'll pull you right off. You head off in a limo, and then you go to your hotel room, and that's it. They keep you away from the crowds and everything. It is a lonely life for a lot of them. And, it's a shame, because, the fans would love to, to get their hands on the acts and everything, but they got to whisk them away. And unfortunately, they live, a withdrawn lifestyle for the most part. But a lot of them, like the rock and rollers, the hardcore, they do have parties, and they get the roadies to invite the people from the audience in and party with them. But that's the kind of stuff that I'd love to find out from some strong rock and roll band, like behind the scenes of, say, the Rolling Stones or a group like that, the stories that they could tell behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And I'm looking here about Terry Bozzio. He worked with Mick Jagger and Jeff Beck. He played with several groups, including he was touring with the session drummer, including the Knack. He also played with a band, and a lot of my friends used to love this band. I don't know. It's not my kind of music, but I'm going to give them credit. Bozzio also performed and recorded with California nu metal band Korn. I didn't know that. And Patrick O'Hearn is a composer and performer of ambient instrumental music on his own albums and for music and TV. Chuck Wilde became and these are all the people from the band. He became playing keyboards for Michael Jackson, Paula Abdul, and the Pointer Sisters. And he composes his own new age and meditation music. So we see from the people in the band, a lot of them that are still around and still alive, they're still making music. So when people say music dies, music really doesn't die. It's you let it die.
It transcends generations, and I'll tell you, it just goes on like we were talking about the 50s music. Now, Terry Bozzio was a well-known drummer, and it's funny to hear that he was playing keyboards and everything else, but they did a drum off, and I think it was sponsored by, I think the Guitar Center at one point, and they did the drum off. He had this thing, it looked like pots and pans and hubcaps and bells and everything around him, and he had, like, I want to say 15 to 20 drums and cymbals all around him, and he was playing his heart out on those drum sets. And I'll tell you, that was a great piece, and you can catch that. I think it's on YouTube still, and you just look for Drum Off, I think is the name of it, but it was sponsored by the Guitar Store, and it's really neat to watch because he starts out making the little bells go off and everything, and it starts out subtle, and then by the end he's into a big rock jam with them drums, and he was real gifted as a drummer. And I imagine as a keyboardist the same thing, but back in the day he was more known for his drumming. And then Warren Cucurullo, of course, was a guitarist, and I mean, he was outstanding. Still is.
Yeah. But, amazing. Like I said, amazing careers for all these people in the band, and a lot of the people that were in the band before. Some, like I said, some of them ended up with even staying in the music and doing more things, other things. Dale was, wrote the book, and she's getting ready to retour. So people, what I suggest to you is if you want to find out more about the book, I would check her book out. You can find it. It's Life is So Strange. It should be on Amazon or all the different places. Check out her 40-minute session with the live missing persons in the US Festival in California. It's supposed to be on YouTube, she said. You could download that. I'll probably download it and play it on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, and give it as a special thing in the summer. But yeah, I mean, these are all great musicians and great performers, but this was focused on Dale Bozzio tonight of Missing Persons. Any last tidbits, Mike?
Well, I wanted to thank all the listeners out there on Hamilton Radio, obviously, and Smokin' Bacon Radio, all my fellow veterans out there. I'd like to thank everybody, of course, for their service, and without them, our country wouldn't be the great country it is today. And I'd like to thank all the servicemen and women who are deployed, and those here at home, and those who have served in the past. But I'd like to thank everybody, and proud to be a part of Smokin' Bacon Radio, and of course, Hamilton Radio and Docg. I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's been an honor. And these interviews have been so great. And, we've had a couple technical issues, not your fault, but because of Zoom. We've had some things going on, but hopefully next time I can iron the problem on my side out so we can actually appear together. But yeah, it's a shame, but I'm going to download her book and also listen to that song that she's put out, because I've heard everything that she's done in the past. I've heard, but I haven't heard the new stuff. Just like anything else, new groups come out, and
right.
You start looking at new stuff, and the things you've heard for years you put on the back burner. But I was a big fan of Missing Persons back in the day, and of course everybody from the 70s were Zappa fans,
and that's the truth. That's the truth, Mike. Yeah.
I also wonder whatever happened to Frank Zappa's daughter, Moon Unit. She came out with that song, I believe, Valley Girl, back in the day. You remember that one?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, I've had a great time tonight, and of course I look forward to the future of Hamilton Radio. And I'll tell you what, I've gotten a lot of listeners to tune in, and everybody says the same thing, that it's definitely an alternative to any other station. There's nothing that comes close to the diversity that you guys play on Hamilton Radio. And I mean, you have the Jersey Jewel on there too. nobody else can
That's right.
call claim to her. Jerry, I got to get together with her. Great lady. We always have an awesome time when we talk. But all three of us have to get together and bring DJ Danny in too, because I've been catching her shows as well. I was in the middle of an interview earlier tonight, and I couldn't watch her whole interview that she had today. But I love watching her on there. She's she's a natural. She's really good at answering questions and getting stuff out of people.
Yes, she's very.
She gets it honest.
Again, Mike, and this is, you can. I appreciate everything you said. You're 100% right about Jerry, 100% about my wife, and my Jerry and my daughter, and the station. As far as I'm concerned, you're right. And I'm the only reason why I say that is because we've been asked to go to satellite radio. Satellite radio said they didn't want us. That's fine. They don't need to get us. They don't have to, because we got our own way. Yeah. But we prove and we show every day. And I have to prove to myself all the time, why is this station so much better than everybody else? Because we take the time to play the songs that others don't play. Some do. I'm not going to be the only one saying I'm the one that does everything, but they don't play it the way we play it. We play with indies. We play it with music that you may not have heard before. And we play it with people like Terry Draper. Terry says to me all the time, he says, I don't know a station that plays 3 or 4 of my songs together ever. And I'm from Canada. Yeah. And they're in Canada. Yeah. He says, I don't know anybody that plays my music still from Klaatu. I've talked to D Long about this from Klaatu and said the same thing. So to me, that's like a badge of honor for me. And I wear that proudly. And thank you for all those comments.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I love the station. And the biggest thing, satellite's one thing, it'll get you everywhere, but you've got something bigger. The internet is a lot bigger than any satellite anywhere. In fact, the internet is carried on the satellite. So as far as, the satellite deal not working out, no big deal. The internet is much, much bigger, and everybody and their brother pretty much can get internet now. So that's why you've, the success that you've got with this station.
You're 100% right, brother. All right. I'll talk to you later, Mike. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for joining us with the Dale Bozzio interview for Missing Persons. Everybody out there watching, my friend Matt Imber and Jerry Petito was out there, and a couple other friends were out there watching and listening. I do appreciate your time, and the people on Smoking Bacon Radio, and of course Hamilton Radio. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening, and have a great day. Thanks.
Have a great night, everybody.